Hi everyone, my name is Dmitry. I'm an electrician from Perm and Perm region in Russia. The reason why I'm introducing myself like this is I wanted to record this video with English translation to show you guys some life hacks to connect with our colleagues in Europe, America, and all over. I'll try to optimize this video for English language to share our experience, to share our life hacks, and to exchange some knowledge in the comments section. And some of you might say, listen, bud, what are you showing us this for? We know all this. Fine, not a problem. Show me your stuff and I'll be happy to learn something new. Listen, I'm a country boy. I grew up in a village. I'm always ready to learn. So we're starting today. We're continuing picking up where the sheetrockers and the plumbers left off. So these guys have done a pretty good job, installed sheetrock. All the plumbing is in. So today we'll be doing some marking up and cutting some channels for cables. One of the things you'll see me use today is this dust removal attachment, this dust shroud. Uh, I've, I've had a review about it on my channel, along with the drill that I purchased. So let's change into the working gear. Let's get to it. So now we're starting the dusty part of the job. All the walls are marked up. We're going to start cutting the grooves and holes for the receptacle boxes. We'll attach the cyclone attachment to the vacuum. As the next order of business, we'll start making pilot holes to then make larger holes for the receptacle boxes. To remove dust, we're using this rotary hammer attachment from Bosch. To make holes for the receptacle boxes, we're going to use this non-impact carbide hole saw attachment. Because the walls are leveled with gypsum-based stucco, it's fairly soft, so we can get away without the hammer action. If this were concrete, we'd have to use hammer mode with a diamond hole saw. And so let's try out our new dust attachment too. So far at the worksite, we emptied several bucketfuls of the stucco dust. If not for the cyclone bucket attachment, we would have had to empty the disposable vacuum bag. It's much smaller and it rips after repeated emptying cycles. And then the dust ends up clogging the vacuum motor, so it's not a pretty sight. The cyclone attachment really helped us. So after we cut the channels in the walls to lay cable and all the receptacle holes are made, we have to set the receptacle boxes. So we set them using quick setting alabaster gypsum mix. And since it sets almost instantly, it allows us to pull cables pretty much right away. So I'll show you now how we do it, and I'll demonstrate a quick trick that is new to me as well. The trick is that we will be mixing the alabaster mix using a cut in half rubber bowl instead of a hard mortar tray. Now, after setting the receptacle box, we'll wait for about 5 minutes for the mud to harden and to set. And we install boxes before pulling cables because they're much easier to set flush with the wall this way. We also have a level midline left over from drilling the holes that will help us later. Now you see the main advantage of using a rubber bowl cut in half to mix the paste is it makes for a pretty easy cleanup. Just empty it into a garbage bag and you can use it again. Pretty neat. Next, we're beginning to mark up the ceiling using this snap line. In a matter of 5 or 10 minutes, you can mark up all the ceilings. I also wanted to mention about these nail gun nails. I tried the OEM kind. I wouldn't say that they're much better than this that I get from my supplier, but the price is the same. The quality is about the same too, but the difference is the my supplier they provide a compressed gas cartridge with their box. The OEM do not, and depending on the hardness of the wall material or the ceiling material, you're gonna need 16 gauge, 20 gauge nails. And I talked to other electricians who bring 15 to 20 packs of different nail sizes to the work site. So my trick is that my supplier, they have a demo pack with all varied, all different nail sizes. So if you get a demo pack, you can come to the work site and try out the different nail sizes, how they work with that given work site, wall, and ceiling material, and then you'll know what length to buy. I think it's more beneficial you not wasting money buying the nails that you don't need. I'll give you a link to my supplier in the comment section. One more trick for pulling cable. I wanted to show you this do-it-yourself device that we put together using this cardio fitness twister disc. So we attached a piece of plywood on the bottom, OSB on top, cut out a hole for handle, and I'll show you how it works now. While my helper is installing cable clamps and attaching them to the ceiling, I will show you and explain why we cut the channels in the way we do and why we install the receptacle boxes right after we cut the channels. We cut the channels just wide enough to hold the cable without any additional means. See, I'm pushing it in and it's holding itself in the channel. This way, installing the cable is much quicker. All I have to do is pull them top to bottom, pull them out of the receptacle boxes, and then mud in the rest of the circumference. I want to say thank you to one of my subscribers who sent me this fishing tape. There's nothing like this in my hometown. I showed you a video where I was trying to use a fishing tape from my local big box store, and it was terrible. As you can see, sheetrockers made a hole down here and up there. So I'm gonna use the fishing tape now to pull the cable. My dear unknown subscriber, thank you so much for this nice unexpected gift. I'll mention you in one of my videos. All right, soldering time. Before soldering, I dipped twisted wire connections into a solution of flux and alcohol. There is no acid, just alcohol and flux. I often get asked, how did you make this? How did you make this soldering iron? I bought it in a store. It's a regular axe-shaped soldering iron. I saw some electricians retrofit these to make a crucible just like you see here. And that's kind of what we did, except we gave it to a professional machinist who did this for 500 rubles, roughly $8 to $9. Reason why I use twisting wires and then soldering them later. Uh, by Russian electrical code, it is allowed to use soldering in boxes that will be inaccessible. You could also use welding or crimping, um, but I prefer soldering. I know some prefer Wagos and other removable connectors. However, they're not allowed to be used in boxes that will be later inaccessible. Soldering is allowed by electrical code, and that's my personal preference. If you have your own, by all means, mention in the comments. I always solder using gloves and protective glasses. For cable support, I use zip ties and this zip tie tightening gun. This is a specialized tool that allows you to tighten zip ties just as tight as they need to be, not too loose, not too tight. And those zip ties will last forever as long as you use quality manufacturer material and zip ties. Sometimes I get told that zip ties are not an approved cable support method, but I'll make a separate video on that. For now, let's get zipping. Something I wanted to mention about the breaker panel. When installing the breakers, it's important to torque them to a spec using a torque screwdriver. Up until recently, we were torquing them by hand. Everyone was, and you might say that it's not necessary, but there are times where it's absolutely necessary. For instance, a regular uh, breaker, the torque there is 3.4 newton meters, but the transitional module, the cable transitional bus bar, uses 2.5. So there was an easy chance to over torque it and to crack it. And also, this helps you be more presentable and actually get the job and win the bid. If you mention that you torque uh, breakers and bus bars to a spec, that puts you one level up above the competition, because just by mentioning that, we won this bid and we got this job. All right, time to set the proper torque. We have the proper bit set. The torque is set using this wrench. Technically, we torqued the breakers already, but we left some untorqued just to show you how it's done. Tighten and then turn till it clicks. That's how it's done. We're pretty much done on this job site. Just wanted to show you what we've done here. We leave the lighting whips just like that. That's the kitchen. All the cables that we use are fire retardant, low smoke, PVG and GLS, according to the Russian electrical code. They can be laid right on the surface without additional mechanical protection. Here's our finished panel. This is Schneider Pragma series load center. We started using it fairly recently. Before that, we used the Minstrel series. Uh, However, Pragma is a little higher quality and it looks a little better. We also use the surface mounted version as opposed to recess mounted, because this is a load bearing wall and there's only 3 centimeters of stucco on the surface, so we couldn't really sink the panel into that without cutting into a load bearing wall, which is not allowed. Also, the breakers and all the other modules inside this panel are from Schneider, except for the transitional bus bar and the voltage limiter. Those are made by RBUZ, a Ukrainian company. You might ask me why I didn't use a Schneider. The main here, the main breaker is 50 amp, and the Schneider model that I usually use is limited to 40 amp. Therefore, I had to use RBUZ. RBUZ, a Ukrainian company, provides a pretty solid quality. I checked out their website. They have a pretty nice lineup of product. So I bought that because of the reviews, and folks seem to be happy with the reliability. And since this is a high visibility spot, I wanted everything to look good, and that module did look good. I also chose it because the specs show that there are no electrolytic capacitors used in manufacturing it, which, as you know, can dry up and render the circuitry
действительно такая проблема есть.
unusable.
Но единственное, я не знаю, может на
Uh,
этих релешках
I'm
тоже
not sure
что-то
if
diferенциально.
other
Ну, по крайней мере,
voltage limiters are
производитель
also
сделал
made
это
with
акцент. Кстати,
non-electrolytic,
у нас был такой
but
прикол. Мы когда мы ее
this manufacturer
поставили,
did mention that
сразу же
theirs
включили, мы
theirs
ничего еще на ней
are
не
not affected
настраивали.
by the problem.
Мы работаем, там
We also had a
настраиваем
little
где-то
mishap
кнопку
at
на лампу,
first.
и релюшка
It was
периодически
strange
щелкает и
where
все выключает. Но
during
сначала
the
долго
initial
никто не
installation,
понимал.
right after,
Потом стали смотреть,
the
у нее
voltage
от
limiter
завода
would
было
cut the power
выставлено
every now
240
and then.
вольт, получается,
And it
или
turned out that
242 вольта.
the factory setting
Верхний
of the
порог.
upper limit of
То есть
voltage
уже
was
после
set to
него она
240
выключалась. А
volts,
тут, в принципе, даже
and
часто
whatever it
бывали
was
вот
hitting
такие
that limit,
включения
it would
тоже.
cut the power
Видимо, иногда
to
на
the
топах
apartment.
просто доходило до 240 вольт, и релюшка просто все выключала.
We took a look
Потом
and
мы
we
разобрались с
increased that limit
настройками,
accordingly.
установили нижний порог, верхний порог.
Technically,
Там
our
по
standard is
настройке есть
220.
220
However,
вольт, но
in an
практике
apartment building,
в
you'll
городском
see
комплексе обычно это
voltages,
больше идет
service voltages,
230, где-то
roughly
230 с
around
чем-то, бывает и
230,
240.
235
Поэтому там,
sometimes.
конечно, порог срабатывания надо ставить повыше.
This is it.
В общем, на этом у
Uh,
меня все. Ставьте лайки,
Press the like
пишите
button,
комментарии, пишите,
leave your
как
comments.
думаете вы. Мне будет
I'd be happy
приятно,
to
если
hear
будут
from
писать
folks
люди из
from
других
other
стран, как
countries,
они работают, где там, скажем, напряжение не
uh,
220 вольт, а
especially those
130,
countries
где
where
там свои
there are different
стандарты.
standards,
В
voltage
общем,
standards,
подписывайтесь на мой
electrical
инстаграм,
standards.
ссылка будет в описании.
Thanks for everything, folks. Have a great one.